Do you ever wonder what it really means to be human? That beyond the routines, the masks, and the daily hustle, there's a raw, messy, and beautiful reality unfolding right before our eyes. I'm Rick Watson, and this is Humaning, a podcast where I have honest conversations with everyday humans, and together we peel back the layers, dive into the chaos, and celebrate the magic of just being human. As you listen, notice how different parts of your story may appear in the story of others as we all just do our best to live, to feel, and to connect. Welcome to Humaning. Laura Olsen, welcome to the podcast.
Oh, Watson. My dear Watson.
How the hell are you?
Excited to be here. I've been looking forward to this.
It's kind of like a normal Thursday for us, isn't it? Well, we'll get into where we are and the time and how we know each other and stuff, but I always like to start with a bit of a check-in. So as we sit here right now in this very present moment, how are you physically, mentally, and emotionally?
I feel excitement. I feel a little warm. Nerves. Oh, yeah. Excited to be here. And a little blank. Like I'm very present moment. I'm feeling a little nervous, on the edge. Lands are normally like my security blanket. And so I feel like I'm well rested, and for things we'll get into later, I'm feeling a little blank. And so I think that adds to the jitters.
Yeah, cool. Not having the safety blanket of a plan.
Micro plan. Like a little mini portable pocket post-it note size plan.
Yeah. I was talking to someone yesterday, and they went on a podcast for the first time, and they got all the questions in advance, so they kind of had already like pre-prepared answers and that sort of stuff. And I'm like, yeah, this is not that. This is the opposite of that. Sorry.
I can see you like, I don't even know what questions I'm going to ask you.
Yeah, I don't know the questions yet, so it makes two of us. I check in. I'll put some context first. I'm in Australia. It's Thursday morning. We're recording this on a Thursday morning in Australia. It's like 7:48 in the morning. You are in Texas. It is Wednesday afternoon at what time?
3:48,
Okay.
3:49 just turned. Yeah.
So we have a little bit of cross time zone, the whole world, really. Like we're pretty far
What
away.
is time?
Yeah, it's kind of cool. So what relevance has that got to my check-in? Well, I don't normally do podcasts at 7:48 in the morning. So I literally got out of bed about 20 minutes ago. So I'm feeling a bit like I just got out of bed. How did you explain that? I don't know. Mentally feel really good. I've just had a big bulletproof coffee and feel like pretty clear. Doing these calls with you, as we'll explain, is one of my favorite things. So we've done, I don't even know, maybe even a year and a half, maybe 2 years. I don't know how long we've been doing this stuff. And so this feels as a level of excitement, a level of comfortability, and there's also a little bit of nerves. First video, first online, first overseas, different time zones. So there's all of that little bit of stuff that's floating around. But that's probably, overridden by excitement, I think. Yeah. So, Laura Olsen, how the hell do we
Yes.
know each other? Tell me a story.
Well, uh, you we met through an online course.
Mhm.
And if it were like physically in person, I feel like you would have been the guy in like the hoodie or the beanie, like in the back of class, just like taking it all in. I feel like you were just sort of like the silent shadow for like most of it.
Mm.
And then I feel like were we actually paired up in the class or did we connect right as the class was
I think
ending?
our
I'm trying to
first
remember.
one-on-one contract was as partners to do work
Ah,
together as
that's right.
partners, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, and then we got to know each other and I was like, "Oh, well there he is."
I don't know if I ever took my hoodie or beanie off, but, yeah, I did like I think the context also is, like, those calls were, like, at 3 a.m. my time. So,
Stop it. Were they really?
yeah, and then as daylight saving change, they got a bit better, like 4 and 5.
A bit
So I would
better.
be, like,
Listen to you.
the middle of the night, I was, like, in a hoodie and all, like and it
Oh,
took
that
me, like, an
explains so much.
hour
I
to
don't think I knew that.
yeah, it took me, like, an hour to wake up.
Wow, that's dedication, man.
Mm. Yeah, so we were partners. I did I think I did 2 or 3 years working with Jator,
Mhm.
doing, like, mental emotional coaching, coaching coaches to do that. So that was kind of my first foray into that world. And, yeah, you were a big part of that program alongside supporting him and being a pillar in that. But also, part of the program was that we had to practice. We had to coach each other. And that was 1 degree back from, like, actually coaching someone in front of everyone else. Like, that bit was it was not my favorite bit. But doing this one-on-one when there's just 2 of us was much better.
Mm,
Um,
mhm. Agreed.
yeah. So I think we spent the first probably couple of months just doing you coach me for an hour, I coach you for an hour. We're just practicing stuff we're learning and all the rest of it. And then we're like, "Oh, I really love these conversations." So the program stopped and we're like, so do you wanna just every second week just keep doing what we're doing?" Um, and that was excuse me, I think that was like, I don't know, what, 18 months, 2 years ago? Seems like
Mhm. Yeah. 'Cause it was you were a part of the, like, original cohort. You're like an OG,
yeah.
and now we're on the 3rd cohort round.
So probably 18
So,
months.
yeah, yeah, at least.
Yeah. So my Thursday, every second Thursday, we jump on a Zoom call and I speak for
Mhm.
an hour and then you coach me, and it's kind of evolved though, hasn't it? So we're not really, like, putting our coaching hat on too much. It's more just a conversation and, I think the other part of it is, like, you've been a really big support for me in this podcast journey as well, like, 'cause you've done the art and the intro, and you've been a backbone for me for being able to put this out, so, yeah, there's that as well.
It makes me so excited to, like, hear the rumblings of, like, a creative idea that, like, there's some sort of spark, like, it connects to you in some kinda way. It's like shaking
Mm,
someone's hand and, like, feeling, like, the static, the spark. It's like, "Ooh, there's something there."
bit of
And
energy
then
there.
to help kind of encourage and, like, what creativity would help bring this to life, help
Mm.
bring your soul and that connection out into the world. That's it's the best. I love that.
Yeah, and just thinking about it now, like, I actually think that, it was our sessions that really helped me work through, like, the blocks that I had around having a voice and putting it out and all of that. Because I think I don't know if I've mentioned on here, but, there was probably a 6 to 9 month period where I, like, wanted to do this, but I didn't. and there was lots of little internal blocks that I put in front of myself, and I think our work together actually broke down some of that. So
Mm.
it's probably been the tangible, like you helped me with the art and the audio and all the rest of it, but probably the bigger help would be chiseling away at those blocks.
Mm. Oh, that's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah. So what if we say like 2 years ago, what did life look like for you 2 years ago? What was happening for Laura Olsen?
Oh, it feels like yesterday and a million years ago, all at the same time. Um, hmm, hmm, hmm. I feel like that whole process, the whole program, it was such an interesting thing because I was, uh, for like, if I put my like day job hat on,
Yep.
it was the curriculum design and, putting that together in like an educational format. So that's like, day job hat on, take day job hat off, and then go and like participate.
Yeah.
Uh, and so it was this strange, like one foot in the boat and one foot on the dock kind of feeling for me.
And
So,
try not to do the splits.
yeah. Core, core. Ah. um, yeah. And I feel like that first round through was like a real sort of like meltdown of just like a melting away of all the things that I'd been carrying, uh, and feeling like I needed to be in control, have a plan, be like uh, ahead of the curve on everything. And then my
Mm.
internal, like, need to be like straight A student. But in this kind of work, like, more is not more.
No, no, no. More is definitely not more.
Yeah. Um, Learning that kind of the hard way by like trying to do everything at such a high level and then just face planting. And I feel like I kind of, that's sort of when we met is when it like, nose was meeting pavement kind of feeling. Just getting on it like, I don't know who I am or where I am or what's happening.
Like, well, here we go. Yeah, yeah. Is that the part that wanted to be the straight A student, was that in the bit that was the supportive role, the work hat, or was that more in the doing the work, the internal, the participant side?
A little bit of both. A little bit of
Yep.
both. There's a little bit of like, uh, number one, just like wanting to be good at my job, and just loving the work that I do,
Yeah.
and really seeing something so magical in this work and wanting to get it out into the world. And like I said, having that, when I feel that spark, like, oh, anything I can do to help get this out into the world. So there's a little bit of that. Uh, and then a little bit of ego internal, because I am in this position of like creation and helping to facilitate and get this out into the world with Jator. Um, Feeling like a pressure to like be the best, to be exemplary, to
Ah.
like meet that expectation. I mean, my own expectation, but still. Yeah.
I hear you say my own expectation, but it doesn't. maybe sound like it is maybe like this and meeting some of the expectations of others. Would that be in there?
The reason that I say like my expectation, it was completely my sort of made up
Yeah, yeah.
story that other people would be looking at me and that I needed to be this, perfect example of what a
Mm,
student should be or going through this or, you know, never let them see you sweat, never let them see you,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
like that kind of thing. Um, while also simultaneously trying to like, when you see those people that are like, oh, they understood the assignment. And like in the purpose of the course is to learn to be comfortable in discomfort, to connect to your vulnerability, to connect
Mm,
to authenticity and presence, and to yeah, just be able to connect and tap into that. And
yeah.
so like holding that high expectation and then like also like go in, go hard, go vulnerable and like, huh.
Yeah, there's like two opposing forces there, isn't there? There's like I just need to be and feel and like
Mhm.
be present with what's happening, and there's like I want to effort the shit out of this to make sure that I'm doing a good job.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that efforting? I'm just using my language here. Is that striving to make sure that um, you were perceived as good at what you did and that sort of thing? Is that a pattern or is that something new that popped up with this role?
Oh no. That's been that's been
Oh
with me
no.
as long as I've had my name. Like, oh my goodness. Pretty well. Yeah. Yeah, this is an old one. Like,
Mm,
uh yeah, be the shining example. And like growing up uh feeling like the capable one, just kind of always like just like, oh, I get it.
yep,
Like, oh, I see what's going on here. And
yep,
just having a high level of perception and just I don't know, dexterity to just be able to
yep.
do things, whatever it is. Sure, learning curve and all of that, and not perfect, not saying I was or am.
That'll
Let's
be
just
the
be
that'll
clear
be the
here.
title for the podcast. I'm perfect, Laura Olsen.
Ah. Oh my goodness. Being clipped and quoted out of context, sir.
But I hear capable.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
capable.
Yeah. Um, and coming to see that through the work through, working with Jator Pierre, the the fearless leader. He's gonna hate that. um, and I just lost my train of thought. I just totally left.
That's okay. Because
What
what
was
I'm
the
thinking,
question again? Maybe I can like rev up again.
just about being capable. Um,
Mm, 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 mm.
because what I'm thinking about is like, what's the shadow side of that? Like,
Mm.
what's the consequences of striving to show others that you're capable?
The
For you.
shadow side of being capable is like what instantly comes up for me is like hypervigilance because
Okay.
that was always the requirement for like survival like in my world. It
Yep.
was like, oh, she's capable, she's fine, we don't have to pay attention to her because she's got it. And so it was
Yep.
always like, make sure that I look like I've got it, never ask for help, and then just be able to do. And then just realizing that over time, the not asking for help, the not sharing the vulnerability, the not being able to uh, communicate that I don't understand something or I don't know something. Um, realizing recently in coming to this place, like looking back, uh, with a new awareness and like a new, like I've said to you earlier, it just feels like this like level one complete. I'm like coming up to this like new
Yep.
level of compassion with myself and thinking back of like it manifested this I am capable. I am like I said, like dexterity and dexterous. Like I love them as words. Trying to put that face on came across as so arrogant. So
Mm,
arrogant in so many situations of like, oh no, here, like I can do that, or here, let me do this for you, or do you know how you should do that? Do you know
yeah.
blah blah blah? And just offering things to people who didn't ask, didn't
Yeah.
care, and didn't want to hear what I had to say.
So what dynamic did that create with them?
Oh my goodness. Uh feel like it didn't if I'm throwing out some hypotheticals, I would say that it potentially didn't allow a genuine connection to form
Yep.
with other people
Yep.
that made that connection very easy to snap. Yeah.
Yep. And I'm also imagining, maybe guessing that that could be a pretty lonely place to hang out in, the I'm capable and I don't need anyone else.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that comes back to that connection thing, doesn't it?
Mhm. Yeah. Uh, and that feeling of like, I have to do it on my own. I have to keep up. I have to be better than, and holding that expectation out of fear that anyone would see that I'm human. Ugh, heaven forfend.
Yeah. And then I guess with this, there's, again, I'm guessing, but it's just a topic that's been in my mind lately because I'm doing some work around it, around the potential shame that comes with asking for support when you think you should have it sorted,
Oh,
you know?
yeah. Heaps, heaps and
Yeah.
heaps.
I'm just
Mm-hmm.
not going to ask because I don't want people to know that I haven't got it sorted myself. And I'm guessing that volume button for you was potentially turned up, yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And just thinking about all the knots I tied myself into, just working late, working double time, Google University, just Googling everything.
Yeah.
I'd rather ask a machine and try to figure it out and, try to build a bridge of popsicle sticks rather than say, like, I'm sorry, I have a question.
Uh,
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Just the knots that I would, just upside down and backwards and like, no, I'm fine. Like that real squeaky.
yeah.
That particular note that you hit when you know that like they're not fine.
Yeah. Your words are
Fine.
saying one thing, but your voice is saying a very different thing.
Are you sure?
Mm. You don't sound fine.
If you're so fine, why don't I believe you?
Mm.
Yeah.
So how much of this part of you shows up these days?
Mm, interesting. think it's still with me in a lot of ways. Uh, and also, um, learning to identify. I'm checking in. Is this true?
Take your time.
I would say phase one was like learning to identify the safe people and the safe spaces to
Yeah.
be able to test out a new thing.
Yep.
I was so tied up that it took a long time to like begin to layer on safe experience after safe experience of saying, I don't have it all figured out.
Yep.
I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing here. I don't know how this is going to go. And walking forward, uh, learning to let go of the plan. This podcast right now feels like a final. It feels like,
This is your
like
exam.
yes, it
You,
does.
you're passing, Laura. It's fine.
This feels like a giant universal pop quiz. Can
Mm.
you have a conversation? Go out on a limb, not know what it's going to be about. Don't have, an outline and a written dissertation to bring to it. So that feels like it was phase one.
Finding the safe people.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah,
And then
yeah.
just practicing. And I feel like now it is noticing when that urge comes up to say, no, 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 I got it. No, 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 no. Like, no, fine, totally fine. And
Mm.
going, like, maybe there's another way. Maybe I can notice, offer myself compassion, be with it, and
Yep.
say, okay, could you use some help? Could you allow some help? Could you maybe say you don't, you're not
Mm.
perfect out
Mm.
loud to another person? Like, could you? Ah, turns out I can.
Mm.
Yeah.
So, what I hear in this, and
Do tell.
yeah, there's like, there's this nice little kind of loop happening. And it's like, it starts with awareness of like actually having awareness that this is a thing that
Mhm.
you do and you have done and you have benefited from, but there's been consequences and all of that stuff. Tick. Okay. The awareness is there and it's growing because when we shine the light, we can't ignore it. So it's kind of like this organic awareness nearly. And then in some capacity, there sounds like there's some level of acceptance. It's like, oh, this is a part of me. And this is a part of me that I'm okay to speak to some safe people. And because I think that to me, that's the definition of acceptance is like, can I actually share this part of me with someone else? As opposed to like just pushing it away and just pretending it's not there. So there's like this awareness piece, there's this acceptance piece, and then the having the courage to ask other people for support is huge and super important. So there's that part that potentially those three things give you the strength to then when you're at the crossroads again, be like, okay, here we are.
Mhm.
What am I going to do? Am I going to do the thing that I always did, or am I going to do it slightly different? And I just think that loop is just a perfect unplanned example of how we slowly um, adapt, change, grow, evolve. That awareness, acceptance, support. And then when we get back to that choice for change, we're like, okay, yep, I need some sort of, I need to go back into that role. So I'm just going to go down the old path and that's completely fine. But you're kind of doing it with awareness. And then the other side's like, oh, what if I actually spoke to him and said, I actually don't know. Holy shit. What does that feel like? Can I be present with that? And it's like, yeah, it's a really good example of like, because what I hear in that is all the work that you've done. And I know because we've been hanging out for ages and I've seen the evolution, but it's like, it's the benefit of actually looking inwards and the awareness and the acceptance and the support and coming to that choice for change. So it's like, I think one of the bits about this that I love is that the realizing that we have choice moves us out of our rigidity, moves us out of our stuckness, and just the realization itself, like, oh, I have a choice to do this differently. It's fucking huge, you know? Like, I think
Oh.
it's a massive moment in such a small piece, you know?
Mm. Yeah, and something else that came up while I heard you speaking was this feeling of connecting in to myself for
Mm.
just a second and saying, "Okay, so I'm feeling all the things. What do you actually need right now? Like, what can I give myself? What does my inner child or, however you want to
Mm.
connect, what what do I actually need right now? Do I just need a hug? Do I just need like an acknowledgement of like,
Mm.
you are amazing and you're not meant to do everything completely on your own? Are you in need of just hearing like, hey, good job? What is it that you need right now? And then like just taking a moment and just feeling just my whole physiology just relax.
Yeah.
And then, like, the asking for help and the vulnerability and the connection and all of that doesn't feel so hard because I actually gave myself what I need. And I'm not like waiting with bated breath or trying to manipulate someone else or the situation to try to
Mm.
get someone to say, oh, good job. Because I just did that for myself. So I don't need that from them. Like, I was able to do that. And now I can have an authentic and vulnerable connection and get the help that I need in whatever situation
Yeah.
or the understanding that I need or whatever it is, um, from an authentic and clean place, as opposed to all that icky, sticky, do what I want, say what I need, kind of wieldy kind of stuff.
It's a really, really good point, and it makes me smile that you bring it up. 'Cause I think
Yes.
it's something that we potentially skip because I think support's got 2 parts. There's, like, self-support. How
Mm,
can I support myself in this moment? Which is exactly what you're talking about. It's like connecting back with a part of me that maybe needs something from me to get through this differently. And then the other side is the external support of like, okay, I've done the self-support bit and we're good, you know, we're not gonna just jump into an unconscious reaction. We're good. And can I then go external and go, okay, me and my 7-year-old need a little bit of help with this. And we're cool with that, but we're good, you know.
yeah.
Mm.
And I think
Mhm.
I'm getting to the place
Which is
where
very dangerous.
it might be possible to have more fun that way.
Holy shit.
I mean,
What is
I
this
don't know,
F
it's a
word that you speak
hypothesis.
of?
To connect and to collaborate and, to do things together, like, yeah, that might maybe just be a little bit more fun.
And are you talking about connecting and collaborating with parts of you or with other people?
I was thinking about with others, but now that you say that, like, it applies both ways.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
definitely more fun to connect with
yeah.
me and to oh my gosh, my inner child, my little girl, she is so friggin' hysterical.
She's hilarious.
She is so fun. Like, every time I interact with her, I end up, I mean, like, spit take level laughing. She's hysterical. And she does not notice. She does not care. She's just so clever and whip smart. And just like when we're done, we're just done. There's no like,
She's got
oh,
sass.
thank you. I love you. Da da da. Like, no, none of that. Just like, we're done here. Bye. Like, just out.
Yeah.
And I guess we're done. Okay. That was easy. She is sassy. I love it. I love
Mm.
it. I love it.
Yeah, and that kind of sets the mood for then, you know, the the fun, playful with other people. And I think it's interesting because like I'm no expert on inner child work by any means. So I played around a little bit with it and doing more in therapy now and all the rest of it. But I think most people's perception is this fear of like touching on old stuff that's really painful. And that's a legit fear. But the other side of it is that like you can also have a new relationship with a younger part of you that is super fun and super light and super funny. Like I've got some parts of me that are fucking hilarious how they show up. And now we just laugh at each other. I'm like, oh, you're back. Like that little the people pleaser or the validation guy or whichever part of me shows up. I'm like, oh, you're back again. Look at you needing a hug. And I can laugh at him, not at
Mhm.
him, with him, just
Yeah.
how funny the patterns are and how they show up. And that can be a
Mhm.
lightness that comes with what's next. Okay, you little punk, let's go and do the thing you want to do. And then we'll do it for 1 minute and then we won't. It can actually be
Mhm.
fun.
Yeah.
Um,
Like a relay race or like a baton
yeah.
pass or something like that.
Mm,
And go. And then you're going to bring it back around to me. And then we're going
mm.
to, yeah.
The bit that I want to go back to, because I
Mhm.
think as conceptually it all sounds really great. Practically, the hard part for me and other people, I'm presuming, is the catching yourself in the moment when it's happening and giving yourself permission, I don't know, giving yourself the opportunity to actually fucking feel what's going on.
Mhm.
Because we can talk about that as a thing, but actually doing it in the moment is like
Mhm.
another thing.
Mhm.
Tell me about your
My
experience
f-
with that.
my favorite mantra to myself is you will until you won't. It's
You
just
will
this
until
like,
you won't. I like
yep,
that.
yeah. You will not recognize it until you choose to. Uh, for me, just speaking to me.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, it would be like weeks later, and I would think like, "Oh, I think in that moment, that situation that exploded like a missile, uh, I think maybe if I think really hard, on one level, like maybe I was hangry.
Yeah.
Maybe maybe I was looking to get something out of that. Maybe there's another way to look at that." And I feel like the time got shorter by like, started out like a month later and then it would be like 29 days later and then like 28 days later.
I'm getting better
Like,
at seeing it.
yes.
But really fucking
Uh
slowly.
yes. Oh my gosh. Um and in all honesty, just kind of immersing myself in this work and just thinking about it constantly and just kind of getting curious of like where is this, what is my favorite thing uh to remember is like, can you take a picture of it
Mm.
to like describe uh the experience, the moment, for me to not get caught up in story. Like, can you take a picture of it? And that connects back to my history as a photographer. So just understanding like all of the hours that I spent analyzing photography,
Hmm.
you know, what is it composed of? What's there? What's excluded from the photo? How close? How far away? Like all those things. So
Yep.
for me, my shortcut is like, can you take a picture of it? And so then immersing myself in this world, uh, personal development, growth, all the reading, all the study, all the, peer coaching, all that stuff, started to get like really curious of like, so when you talk about self-abandonment, that one took me years to understand. Every time I would hear it, I would just tie in a knot, just like, what do you mean? What are you talking about?
Yep.
I'm here with myself. Like, that's not possible. And then just coming back to it, going, can I take a picture of it? What does that look like in my life?
Yep.
Where is it? I can't find it. And then just the constant curiosity and like wanting to get to the bottom of it. Like, what is that thing?
Mm.
Until I can get a handle on it. Like that to me is like how the distance starts to get shorter between
Mm.
the event and the noticing.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, early on, it would be like that thing that I did weeks ago, last month, months ago. And then the distance would just get shorter and shorter and shorter and
Yep.
shorter. It's still not great. Like, I mean, I would love to be able to preempt, see it
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
moment. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm still like later on that day, tomorrow, that thing I did last week, like, oh, oh, oh.
Hey, can I just jump back?
Yeah.
What would be an example, if you're willing to open the door, what would be an example of self-abandonment that would show up either in the present or in the past for you, just as a reference point of what the photo looks like?
I can speak to there is it's something very recent. Um there is a project. It's an annual project that
Mhm.
I have worked on every year for, I mean, gotta be at least 5 years, and it's probably more. And so there's this, like, kind of assumption with the organization that I do this for every year, that I'll
Yep.
just do it again next year. And this year, I didn't want to do it. I was busy, I had other things, my creative energy was elsewhere, and it's this creative project, and it's kind of, immersive, like, it's, like, a lot of work all at once, and then it's,
Yep.
like, over. It's, like, a quick thing. And I know that it comes around every single year, but this year, I was like, I don't wanna do it. And when the conversations came up around, and this is how we're gonna do it this year, and just, like, bringing me the thing, and the language was all, like, not even checking in and asking, it was just assuming, like, "You've
Yep.
done it before, you're gonna do it again." And realizing way down the line, like, oh, I totally abandoned myself. I totally just went along and nodded my head
Yep.
and agreed to do the thing without agreeing to do the thing. I just was like nodding along, offering my feedback, speaking to them as they were speaking to me,
Yep.
and not standing up and saying, by the way, maybe you could find someone else to do it this year. That did not happen. That conversation did not happen.
Mm.
And so
It's
now I'm
also,
knee deep in it.
yeah, it's kind of interesting to see how that, like, rubs up against the theme of like, I am capable, you know, and the role that like just not speaking your truth can play because of that. I need to show that I've got it. I can do it. I can do it probably better than most people. You know, I'm putting words in your
Yeah.
mouth, but just that
Oh
general
my
feeling.
gosh. And just how easily I am led around. Just, oh my gosh. I mean, tell me I can't do it.
Yeah.
I'm just, it's like there's just, it's tattooed on my forehead. Just say that, like, oh, it's okay. It's really complicated. I don't think you could do it. Stand back. Watch me.
Get out of the
Yeah.
fucking way.
Yeah. Everyone, stand back and watch.
And then I think it's like, because what you were hinting at before was just like the ability to not catch it in the moment. Bless you. And then
Oh.
the improved ability to be like, oh, I caught it at 30 days out and then 29, like
Mhm.
slowly getting
Mhm.
better.
Dialing it back, rolling it back.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that the reality of that, especially when it's a pattern that we may not be super proud of, um, it's so hard to even want to catch it in the moment because
Well, yeah.
there's nearly a like, I'm doing that fucking thing again. Shit.
Well, it's so easy to buy your own hype. I can't believe they did that. I can't believe they said that. I can't believe that they are upset with me because I'm awesome. I can't believe this situation is happening, unfolding in this way
Mm,
because I'm amazing. And just believing my own hype.
yeah.
And then stepping back, taking a deep breath, relaxing, and like getting really curious of like, okay, all right. So that went off the rails. All right. So if, and I'm not saying you do, if you played a role in that, what might it be?
See
Just
that question there, um, that should be tattooed in front of everyone's in their forearm. If I played a role in that, what would it be?
not
Because
saying
it's
that you do.
yeah, yeah,
Just
yeah.
if. Just let's just play it out.
Let's
We're
pretend that
just
I had some
spitballing. We're
role.
just brainstorming. We're playing with things.
Because it's like I just think of projection, I think of deflection, like all the actions, that we use to not own our role.
Mhm.
And it's so tricky and clever and nuanced and not not in our, awareness even. It's just a pattern that we do. So yeah, I
Mhm.
think that there's a lot in that process of like bringing the days in, and then that question of like, what role did I play in this? Shit, people's worlds would be different if we all owned our
Oh,
reality a little bit more.
yeah. And I think that, at least for me, in the earlier stages of my healing process, you know, I don't think it could have happened any faster than it did.
No.
Yeah, I I used to say like, "Oh, I want this to be faster. I want to be better. I mean, let's, let's get down to like I wanted to win
Yeah. Yeah.
and healing, you
Yeah.
know? I want to develop faster. I want to heal faster, like I'm some like superhero or something.
Mm.
It's like super healing skin. Um, but it was so tender. That place inside of me that like wanted to be perfect. I
Mm.
couldn't get around to. I couldn't relax the tension and the gripping and the
Efforting. Yeah.
efforting. Yeah, all of that uh, around the idea that maybe I could have played a role in, like I said, the needing to be perfect and not connecting uh, with vulnerability to another person.
Yeah.
And like I said, that connection not getting the nourishment that it needs to like really hold. And so it's just very brittle and fragile. And so those connections going away, like I was that brittle and that fragile
Yeah. Yeah.
too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It couldn't have gone any faster for me. I needed
Mm.
that time to let it diffuse, to let it relax so that I could even go in and look at it. I just had to be really gentle with myself.
Yeah. And then I'm thinking about like this like the efforting, the striving, the pushing to heal faster, be even have that as a perfect scenario. Like what what do you get what would you have got out of that striving? Like what were you chasing, do you think? Whether it was consciously or unconsciously?
That is funny. The first word that came to mind was connection. But like it was just this inversion is what actually happened. Like
The paradox.
yeah, 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 yeah. Have them see me as like perfect and not needing anything. That I'm like completely self contained. I'm not a bother. Oh my God. To feel like a bother or a
Mm,
burden to someone else. Oh my gosh. I would just rather go and melt in a corner. Like I would just
yep,
rather die than to be any sort of, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, no, no, no. I don't mean to bother you. I don't
yeah,
mm,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
can't take up space.
yep.
Um,
That's a big one,
and
isn't it?
so making myself like perfect, impervious, uh, completely uh, shrinking into nothing, super tiny and small, or just completely self-contained. That just what comes to mind is like a marble wall, like trying to climb a marble wall. Like there's nothing to hold on to. You
Yeah.
just slide right
Mm.
back down. There's no connection there. There's no
Yeah, and that's the bit I
purchase.
want to come back to because
Yeah.
if the internal goal for the pushing, the striving, the perfection, the capabilities was to connect, I'm wondering what you got from doing the opposite. I'm wondering what you got from having the courage to ask for help and to show your safe people that you may need some assistance or you may need some support. Like, I'm wondering what you got from that action.
I would say before I answer that, connection's like the end, but like the exit on the way to Connectionville was like I wanted to be like good enough to be liked, to be accepted by someone else. What I wanted was connection, but what it looked like in the moment, like if we're talking like can you take a picture of it,
Yep.
was like I wanted to be acceptable. And then like thinking that that would lead over time to connection
Yep.
and that it had to be this like perfect facade to be
Yep.
acceptable. And so if I were to restate your question and make sure I understood, so what I got from learning to share and learning to notice those safe people in those safe places, um, relief comes to mind.
Mhm.
Yeah. It just felt like relief. Just like carrying like all of this stuff and like trying to carry all the luggage and the baggage and just like, nope,
Yeah, yeah. The squeaky voice comes
And
back.
then just the ability to just, like, let it all fall down and just be like, "This is me. Take it or leave it.
Mm,
Here I am." Like, I am so tired of all of the stuff and the doing and the saying and the being of all the
mm.
things for all the people and all the different places and to try to be pleasing and acceptable and all this stuff. I am so exhausted that I don't even think I could be hurt or offended or sad if you don't like me right now. Like, I don't even think I can just, like, work up a solitary tear. Like,
Mm.
I don't even think I could.
So
So
then,
here I am. Take it or leave it.
so I'm curious, is there, in that process of like, this is me, take it or leave it. So there's a level of self-acceptance in that. I'm
Mm.
wondering if you felt any acceptance from the person that you were sharing with, or whether it was a challenging thing for you.
It still is in some ways a little bit of a challenge
Mm,
for me, to realize that it's there. Like, it's a little it feels a little bit like, uh I tell you what, for instance, when we just, like, reconnect because we meet fortnightly, you and I, and when I'm putting it on my calendar, I'm like, "Wow, still going. Oh my gosh." Like, it feels, like, amazing. And there's, like, several other people that, like, when I reconnect with them, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, they're still here."
mm,
Like, amazing. Uh, and there's this part of me, um, if I'm hangry, if I'm in a low having a low day, if I'm tired, not feeling very well, uh, there's there's a little gremlin in there that'll be like, "Well, you haven't messed it up yet."
mm.
And I'm like, I hear you, and I don't want to hear you.
And you can leave now.
Can you
Mm,
just sit back there and hush? Is your seatbelt on? Like, I know you're back there, but I really need you to just like, can you just look out a window and sit there
mm.
quietly? Yeah, it's still there. It's still there sometimes.
I think the question I want to ask that I didn't ask very well before was, do
Mhm.
you feel some level of acceptance with your people, your safe people that you get to show, this is me? Do you feel a level of acceptance from them?
Yeah.
Yep, I
Yeah.
was
Hmm.
because, and I think the point I want to make, I'm just making it really clunkily. Clunkily is not a word, but I'm being clunky.
I like it, cause like, the sound of it matches, like, what it means.
Yeah, exactly. I'm being clunkily. Um,
Yeah.
the beautiful paradox is the perfectionism, the striving, the pushing, and the story was, I need to do this to be accepted. And then if we put the handbrake on and back the car up and have the courage to have honest conversations with people that feel safe and be like, this is fucking me. And there's an experience of acceptance from those people. It's like you're getting the thing you wanted by doing the opposite of what you thought you needed to do to get it.
Oh, yeah.
Does that make sense?
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, and it's so fascinating that, like, there's a different voice in my head, a different inner critic that pipes up, or that used to be a lot louder. Like, after I would get off of a call, early in the process of, like, learning to be vulnerable, learning to show up in whatever state and just be honest and present. Uh, there used to be this, like, really loud voice when I would, like, get off of a call or, hang up the phone or leave the Zoom room or whatever, and just be like, "Oh, I can't believe you said that. I can't believe you did that. Like, oh, you are never talking to them again."
Yeah.
They are never calling you back again. Like,
Yeah.
that is just wave goodbye.
Mm.
And now, uh, I hear that less and less.
Yeah.
Like, being, like, present, being honest. That's what vulnerability feels like to me. It's
Mm.
just having the courage to be honest,
Yeah.
uh, with someone who has shown the capability to have patience, compassion, understanding, uh, and just like be present with me in that moment.
Yeah.
Those people get more of me.
Yeah.
They get more honesty from me.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, over time. And then that patience on the other side, like seeing it being witnessed with presence in the moment, that connection allows me the ability to see myself in that new way,
Mhm.
to realize that I am worthy of compassion and patience,
Yeah.
understanding. And then when I hang up the phone, no matter how honest I was, then that voice tries to speak up, and I'm like, I got nothing for you. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it is what
Yeah.
it is, man.
So
That inner voice of mine.
super interesting. In Gestalt terms, that it's called egotism, and it's that idea of talking yourself down post conversation or post interaction of like, I should not have said that. That person's going to think this. I've done the wrong thing. I wish I could have that all back. It's like it's pretty common, and it's a process. But I also think it's a really interesting symptom for the stepping into an area that's maybe new and a little bit uncomfortable. It could potentially, for some people, be seen as like oh, this is like, it's a little growth edge because I've got this
Mhm.
voice who's telling me to do this thing. And then, like you've said, the more evidence you see that the people that sit with
Mhm.
you in patience and vulnerability, the more evidence that they're still there, showing that,
Mhm.
you're not pushing them away by your actions. Like that little voice is not true.
Mhm.
Then that it diminishes. I
Yeah,
think it's a
and it's
really sorry, you go.
I was just gonna say, it's back to that, can you take a picture of it? Like, it also
Yeah.
works with the proof, positive, on the
Mm.
positive side of things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
go ahead.
And just to close, I just think it's like it's another example of how evidence helps us really embody and integrate things. It's like, I just need to see some evidence of it.
Mm,
And the people showing up and coming back, and that's evidence. It's like, oh, okay. Maybe I can be vulnerable and be accepted and, have connection and all the rest of it. They're little glimpses and slithers of evidence that pile up and you know, create more and more and more until you're like, shut the fuck up, voice.
well, that's how
Can you not see
confidence
the
is built.
evidence?
Yeah, like lawyer yourself, that,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
inner critic voice.
yeah, yeah. Defense
Yeah,
lawyer
that's
action.
what that's how confidence is built.
Mhm.
It's brick by brick. It's experience by experience. It's having that proof. Um, and this reminds me of like the conversations that you and I have had about self-trust
Mm,
and like having your own back in various situations and building those layers of proof over and over and over again. And then that like, can I take a picture of it? What did that look like? What did I do that had my own back? Like, oh, look at that. Pin that.
Yep.
You can do that again.
Yep.
You've done it before, you can do it again. And then it's like a single sheet of paper.
Mm.
Day after day after day after day after day. And then pretty soon it's like the size of a book. You've got all of this proof that
Yeah.
you can be confident in yourself to have your own back as an example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the danger with it is that me in various forms in the past, and I see other people do it, have a tendency to focus on the drama, the negative, the thing that pulls them, and they may miss the example of the evidence because they're focusing on maybe they're focusing on that little internal dialogue and seeing what potentially catastrophizing that. But I think the point I'm trying to make is that it's super important to acknowledge the little wins.
Mm.
And
So
even if
true.
it's just for 10 seconds, just go, oh, that was cool. Didn't die.
It builds up.
And yeah,
Yeah.
but just to balance out that, because we can all go down the spirals and the little inner critics and all the things that, make up our internal conflict. But I think that starts to get balanced out when we have some conscious awareness to look at the evidence that's building. Like, oh, didn't fuck up that podcast as much as I did the one before. Winning.
Look at you growing. Oh,
Mm,
yeah. I mean, I see like this glimpse of like a river. Like it starts with just like a single trickle.
mm,
Like the grooves that we have, those old habits that we have are like, a river flowing. And they've started with like a single trickle. Like
yeah,
just like a little like finding like the path of least resistance through the grass and the soil and then down into rock over time.
yeah,
So to think that those things are just going to change overnight, I think is unrealistic. And
yeah,
it's just like, oh man, like a little compassion. Like, yeah, you've been doing that river thing for a long time.
yeah.
It's going to take a minute to like, get another waterway going.
Build a new groove. Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's where the compassion and the grace comes in. Um,
Mm. Mm-hmm.
I am conscious of time. I'm trying to get
Mm.
these under an hour and a half.
Ah, okay. Okay.
Yeah. Um, there's been so many cool themes that we've talked about. Not
I
bad, but
could literally talk to you for hours and you know this.
yes, and we do. Literally not knowing where we're going to go. I feel like we've explored some fun parts. Um,
Mhm.
one fun way that I like to finish the podcast is what's exciting right now.
Mm-mm-mm. What is exciting right now? Like, I just felt like this flood of like, oh, this and this and this. Um, so what's exciting right now is taking all of this out for a spin.
Mm,
It's like trying to show up in new ways, like with that lightness, with that playful spirit. Like, can I be in this present moment and allow it to be good and light and fun and forward moving uh, without desperately clinging to a plan?
yeah, true. I'm the same.
Oh, because just like with this conversation, like I end up someplace really wonderful that I completely didn't expect. Like, you can't plan for this. Like, I
Mm,
could have written an outline And like, okay, so in A block, we're going to talk about this and I have these 3 points to make. And then I'm going to say this and then you're going to say that. And like, how fun
That
would
would
that have
freak
been?
me out.
And that is like my safe zone, my comfort zone. That's my
Mm.
blankie, is to like have a detailed level plan and come prepared and studied and like all of that stuff. So this like freewheeling it is just like it's like learning to skateboard or something for me.
Yeah. Cool. Sounds
Yeah.
does sound exciting.
So this is exciting.
Yeah.
This is like
Yeah.
living on the edge, man. I've never felt so alive. Ah!
Somebody stop me. I think mine's pretty similar because
Huh?
I've probably got two that are coming up, and they've both got a similar vibe. And um, I'm excited about being in groups of people. I really enjoy the dynamic of being in a group. And I've got two things coming up. One is I'm going down to Melbourne with Joe to do a workshop, like a 3-hour workshop, and that's a new group of people.
Mm.
And then, so that's exciting. And hopefully we'll make that a regular thing next year. And in a couple of weeks, I've got my 7-day residential for my study, where all the 4 years of the school go, and there's a lot of group process, and yeah, there's just a lot of group stuff that happens in that. And I just love seeing what emerges in those situations. And that's where the similarity is. It's like, well, what's going to pop up here? And yeah, it's wild, especially in that group process setting, to just because I often have some uncomfortability about silence. So if we're in a group setting, I will just like start first, just so like I don't have to sit in the silence. Getting better at it, but it's funny in these group processes in our study, like there'll often be extended silence. And I'll be like, "Wow, this is fucking going nowhere." And then an hour and a half later, I'm like, "Holy shit, that was wild." So there's just it's for me, that's like I'm getting to push on all these little edges of like my patterns and thinking it has to be a certain way and all that sort of stuff. And I find there's so much richness for me in groups of what I walk away with. And it's never what I thought I'd walk away with. It's always like, fuck, I didn't see that coming. And yeah, so I'm excited about just being in more groups. And then obviously we've got men's circle on Monday night. So I get to hang out in groups quite a bit in the next for November. So I'm jazzed about that.
Yeah,
Mm.
I feel that. I feel that so much. That silence, and like, do you feel it differently in men's circle versus in like the different environment of like a learning situation? Because one place is
Mm,
um, like a leadership guiding, and the other is like more like receptive. Do you feel it differently in those two different situations?
I think when we're doing our study, the actual group process is a let's be with what's present for what's alive for you right now. So they're actually quite similar.
Okay.
So it's not like a curriculum thing where you're going to go through this. It's like, all right, what's going on? Who's got something that's
Mhm.
alive for them? Let's speak to it and see where it takes us, kind of thing. So there's probably more similarities than differences in those two things. Yeah.
Interesting.
Mm. And I think the other, without starting a whole new topic, it's just like what's in my uncomfortableness about sitting in silence? Like, what's the story that I've made about that? And yeah, so that's been interesting to look at and play around with, and I'm much better at it especially this last 12 months since studying. and being in environments where it's like, okay, and this is that whole evidence thing. It's like, let's just see what pops up.
Mhm.
And then for me, I can like actually be present with what's happening. And if there's something alive for me, I can speak to it. But I'm not pre-planning. So I say things that I think people want to hear from me, because that's been a pattern of mine. So like, for example, I used to go to my old men's circle and I'd drive there, and on the drive, I would plan my check-in. What's a lot
I
for
don't
you? I
know
know.
what that's
Well,
like at all.
I've got a pre-prepared statement, and I benefited from that in different ways. But
Mhm,
yeah, so like I just noticed that part of the edge for me is being able to sit with what actually is alive right now. Like, it could be nothing, or there could
mhm,
be some charge about something that's been said earlier or whatever. But it's like, can I feel into that and actually speak to it rather than present something that's, prepared?
mm.
Mm,
I wonder if that's we were talking about, like, the proof and, like, building up the proof and the confidence because of the proof.
mm,
It feels to me like it sort of, like, leads into that confidence because you did the diligence of preparing and taking it seriously and caring about it and wanting to do a good job, and that served in the early phases, and then it feels like, "Up next, level 2."
yeah.
Like like, stepping into the ability to n what do I wanna say? Like, have a template, like, have the feel for, like, how it goes, and then be able to be present in the moment because that
Mm.
feels like skating on ice for me.
Yeah, it's definitely a muscle that's building, but slowly.
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah. I feel like I'm just getting into it.
yeah.
It feels, like, all zingy.
Mm. And I think just talking about it now, there's like a version of that that happens on the podcast. It's like, what does silence mean on here? And
Mm.
originally I'd be like, oh, that's like the thing you don't want. And now I'm like, oh, that's the thing you do want. Because it means that like there's the cogs are turning, there's contemplation, people aren't just rushing answers and stuff. It's like silence is golden. And I went on a podcast before I started this, and the a friend of mine who did it um, deleted all the pauses, so there was no pauses. So and it sounded like I was just talking like this, but it completely changed the energy of the podcast because there was no natural pause, reflection, and I was like, "Ah, so I know what I don't want," and that kind of, you know, made me realize that silence is actually okay, and slowness and all the rest of it is okay, especially in this format.
Like music.
Mm,
It's like the space between the notes
yeah.
that offers, like, the cadence and the melody and all of that. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and
'Cause we could do
makes me
another
think
hour
of
now. Now we're just
oh my
teeing
gosh.
off on a new game.
Oh my goodness. I will just say this. Um, I can't think of what it was, but I do remember there was this ad. It was a commercial years ago, back when I actually had cable TV and commercials and all of that. Um, and it was completely silent. There was just things on the screen. And so like normally when you're watching TV, it's almost like the commercials get louder
Yeah, yeah,
in between, and it just like, oh, it's like startling, especially like later on at night. But if everything goes silent, it's like, wait a minute, did the TV turn off? Like who turned off the TV? Like what do you if you're not facing it, if you're not paying attention to it, it gets your attention back to it, right?
yeah.
Uh And that's kind of what it reminds me of, like, in people's ears when they're going about their day, listening in. Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
If there is silence, it's almost reorienting.
Mm,
Like, "Ooh, wait a minute. They're thinking about something. What is that? What do
yeah,
I think about it? How do I feel about it?" Yeah,
that's
that's
cool.
like concept for me.
Mm. Laura Olsen, thank you for coming on the podcast that you have built.
I just help nurture it along.
Yes.
It's your
Uh,
it's your bird.
my bird, but graphic design and audio are not some strengths of mine. So you have, uh, yeah, provided those for me. So I'm very grateful for that and the conversation and our friendship and all of it. It's ace to have a random stranger in Texas who I speak to every 2 weeks. And just, yeah, like a safe person to be me. It's really cool. So thank you.
Likewise, and it feels so, like, cool to know someone in Australia that I'm like, "That's my buddy. He's in tomorrow." It's, like, one of my very favorite things to say. Like, "I have a friend in tomorrow.
In tomorrow. He's in tomorrow. He's in the future.
He's in tomorrow."
Mm, yes. I'll tell you what it's like.
Oh my goodness. This isn't replacing our conversation this week, is it?
No, very good.
Okay, I still get my Watson week. Awesome.
Laura Olsen, thank you so much. And
Thank you, Rick
I look
Watson.
forward to more conversations.
Likewise.